Grüß Gott und herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Sendung in unserer Sendereihe Archetypische Kosmologie. Heute geht es um das Thema Professor Dr. Carl Gustav Jung und sein Verhältnis zur Astrologie. Und wir benutzen dazu eine Neuerscheinung von Liz Green, Jung's Studies in Astrology, Prophecy, Magic and the Qualities of Time. Ich schalte mal den PC dazu. Wir haben also auf unserer Unterseite also Astrologische Bücher mit der Adresse astrobuch.von-a-bis-w.de gibt es eine Unterseite Jung und Astrology und da gibt es 3 Bücher, um die es geht und zusätzlich das rote Buch und das Textbuch zum roten Buch. Und wir nehmen heute das erste Buch von 2 Bänden von Liz Green, Jung's Studies in Astrology. Und als erstes zitiere ich dazu von der Homepage bei Amazon folgende Information. Liz Green has written what will undoubtedly stand as the definite work on Jung's engagement with astrology for a long time to come. It is an immense achievement. She also offers us profound insights into Jung's vision of the psychological underpinnings of the emergence of meaningful archetypal patterns in history. Soweit schreibt Murray Stein, author of Jung's Map of the Soul. Ein weiteres Zitat. This is a work which I have been searching for in vain for several decades. It manages to be an instructive and essential reading in its own right, while resituating and correcting a host of other works. Ende des Zitats. Geschrieben von Sonu Shamdasani, Professor, School of European Languages, Culture and Society, UCL. Shamdasani ist ja der Herausgeber des Roten Buchs, auf das wir nachher noch eingehen werden. Über den Autor und weitere Mitwirkende bei Amazon.de. Liz Green is a Jungian analyst and professional astrologer who received her diploma in analytical psychology from the Association of Jungian Analysts in London in 1980. She holds doctorates in both psychology and history and worked for a number of years as a tutor in the MA in Cultural Astronomy and Astrology at the University of Wales, Lampeter, also der Universität, wo Professor Dr. Nikolaus Kempchen Unterricht gibt und das Sophia Trust Center verwaltet. She is the author of a number of books, some scholarly and some interpretive, on the relationships between psychology and astrology, Tarot, Kabbalah and myth, and of the astrological world of Jung and his Liber Novus. Das ist ein Zitat von der Homepage des Routledge Verlages. Bei Amazon.de gibt es dann zu dem Buch Jung's Studies in Astrology eine Rezension, aus der ich folgende Zeilen zitiere. 11 years ago, after reading a short book by Richard Tarnas, Prometheus the Awakener, I chided Liz Green and Robert Hand towards the end of my book review for what I perceived was their cookbook approach to astrology. Richard Tarnas had captured something seminal. Uranus, as named by astronomers, didn't fit the mythology of Uranus the god, but instead reflected the Prometheus myth. This was attributable in large part to the loss of mythic perspective in Western culture by the time Uranus was discovered on March 13th, 1781. Turns out I was not aware of everything that was going on the background for Green and Hand. Fast forward 11 years and I can now see the evolution of the events much more clearly. Professor Richard Tarnas, who already had a rich history at the Esalen Institute, has helped create a new interdisciplinary curriculum of study at CIIS in San Francisco, Philosophy, Cosmology and Consciousness, and will soon co-host a new Ascona program for scholars taking the Eranus Lecture Legacy instituted by Jung and others to the next level. Fortunate for us, it turns out that Robert Hand and Liz Green also had both been assiduously working towards deepening their and our understanding of astrology already by the time I had read Richard Tanner's Prometheus. Robert Hand, along with Robert Schmidt, Ellen Black, and Robert Stoller, had begun Project Hindsight in 1992-93, the purpose of which was to translate old astrological works into English. Hand, in fact, rediscovered the concept of sect as a result of that work. That means the importance of night versus day births in determining the qualitative aspects of benefic and malefic planets in the natural horoscope chart. He also helped to found Kepler College, the only college in the US, in Seattle, in Bundesstaat Washington, currently to focus on astrology. Nowadays, the discipline of traditional astrology is pretty well established and promises to grow further as additional astrological texts are translated, helping to bring astrology back into the philosophic conversation after being rejected by the Western Academy for centuries, along with its sister disciplines of alchemy and magic. Meanwhile, Liz Green seemed to have gone underground, and I hadn't found any new written astrology material in popular or esoteric occult bookstores for quite some time now. There were occasional interviews I found, but not much else. Fortunately, it turns out that she has been quite busy pursuing further academic studies on esotericism. I recently scooped up a copy of Magi and Magidim. Apart from being a Jungian analyst, I believe she now has 2 PhDs, none of which are mentioned with her name in this Routledge work. Interesting. Titles aren't important. Knowledge is. And that's what she provides here, in spades. Having unprecedented access to Jung's library, following Sona Shamdasani's publication of Jung's Red Book in 2009, she provides us with the first look into Jung's influences on his work based on his personal notes and library. The text, he means Jung's studies in astrology, prophecy, magic, and the qualities of time, im Routledge Verlag erschienen. The text is academic, which is fine with me, but will not appeal to everyone. Nonetheless, this is where the battle needs to take place. And I would have preferred larger font with footnotes on the bottom of each page rather than at the end of each chapter. But this is no fault of Dr. Green. The same thing is apparent on the recently published Jung on Astrology, also by Routledge, and edited by Safran Rossi and Kieron Legrais. It is quite hopeful to see these works under an academic publisher, as it heralds the beginnings of a real conversation within the academy about exactly what went on as a result of the schisms which gradually occurred between the general areas of science, physics, philosophy, and the magic beginning in late antiquity and into the Common Era. A conversation about all those wretched subjects which have been cast aside by the Academy for far too long. That there is persistent derision of these subjects is currently well exemplified, in my humble opinion, by the perspective of the scholar Walter Hanegraaff. In one of his recent articles, he questions the veracity of one of Jung's visions about the impending outbreak of the World War. In his opinion, Jung, like anyone else at the time, must have read the papers and been informed as to the imminent risk of war. Citation, of course, in the autumn of 1930, one hardly needed powers of precognition to see the risk of a major European conflict. Reading the newspapers would have been more than sufficient. Nevertheless, Jung would later insist that the thought of war never occurred to him. End of citation. This citation is from The Great War of the Soul, Divine and Human Madness in Carl Gustav Jung's Liber Novus 2017. It remains to be seen whether Hanegraaff will help to elucidate what implications the forgotten history of exclusion has for established textbook narratives of religion, philosophy, and science, quoted from the back of his Esotericism and the Academy. It seems to me at this point anyway, that he has just found the material to cover himself and stay relevant in the publish or perish environment of academia in Amsterdam. Let's join the spirit of the time, shall we, and continue to deride the rest of us who look beyond the purely bipolar view of reality. Time will tell. Und dann einige Zeilen weiter unten, about the book. In this first volume, with the title Jung's Studies in Astrology, Prophecy, Magic and the Qualities of Time, Band Nummer 1. In this first volume, the foundational materials which Jung utilized in the creation of his black books and Liber Novus are evaluated within the context of Jung's worldview. In dealing with the influence of astrology, we see how Jung fused his understanding of traditional authors of astrology like Ptolemeus, Firmicus, Maternus, and Abu Mashar with late 19th and early 20th century astrologists such as Alan Leo and Max Heindel, who had a decidedly more theosophical, that means spiritual bent. The important influence and friendship with G.R.S. Mead is mentioned as well. That alone would be a great topic for a separate book, given that Mead has been marginalized to a great extent due to his theosophical connections, no doubt. Und verweist dann auf Godric Clark's G.R.S. Mead and the Gnostic Quest. There's a lot here that is relevant to the current climate of astrology. The complexity and richness of the foundational texts are extremely important, but so is the question of how to keep our spirits alive. For all those new astrologers out there fired up about and on traditional astrology, let's take a page from Jung here, and he had his own views on the spiritualist movements during his time and not treat all those spiritual astrologers like crap just yet. Okay, everyone has a lot to learn from each other going forward. Wir sollten uns allerdings an der Stelle erinnern, dass C.G. Jung eine starke Abneigung gegenüber der Anthroposophie in Rudolf Steiner hatte. Aber hier weiter in der Besprechung bei Amazon.de. As far as alchemy is concerned, there is some material discussed in this first volume, but it is the area of magic which is most deeply addressed. Jung's concepts of active imagination and synchronicity are thoroughly discussed as they evolved from the understanding of Gnostic, Neoplatonic, and Hermetic writings, and Liz Green shows how they are directly related to theurgy, and cosmic sympathy, just presented in new clothes watered down by Jung for academic presentation. Dr. Liz Green does an outstanding job of demonstrating how Jung was primarily concerned with fusing those elements of philosophy, religion, and science, magic back together, again as they had been for the ancients. Und so weiter. Die Besprechung geht noch länger. Ich nehme mal den Anlass hier, also hier unten ist diese Besprechung, aber die muss man dann weiter suchen. Ich nehme mal jetzt die Amazon.de Seite raus. Wir haben auf unserer Seite Archetypische Kosmologie ja ein kurzes Video zum Roten Buch von C.G. Jung, das ich Ihre Aufmerksamkeit empfehle, denn die 3 Bücher, um die es hier geht, ich zeige die nochmal. Also es sind 3 Bücher, C.G. Jung, Jung on Astrology, und dann die beiden Bücher von Liz Green. Und dann gehört dazu in meinen Augen das sehr große Rote Buch, das in unserem Video bei Archetypische Kosmologie extra gezeigt wird, und dann das Rote Buch, der Text. Alle 5 Bücher gehören meines Erachtens zusammen, wenn man sich damit auseinandersetzen will, wie Jung über Astrologie gedacht hat. Wenn man dann bei uns auf der Seite Astrologische Bücher mit der Adresse astrobuch.von-a-bis-w.de den Link anklickt bei YouTube, so finden wir hier also eine Menge von Videos zu C.G. Jung. Das mache ich mal zu. Und ich mache auch jetzt die Seite von unserem YouTube-Kanal zu und gehe mal hier weiter. Das machen wir auch zu. Und hier auf dieser Seite, wenn Sie bei YouTube die Suchbegriffe Jung und von A bis W eingeben, dann finden Sie viele unserer Materialien, die wir zusammengestellt haben für Ihre Information. Da sind also hier 27 Videos Astrologie und astrologische Verlage, Gesundheitsinformationen über die Blue Zones, und dann gibt es hier unseren Kanal von A bis W. Da klicke ich mal drauf. Da finden Sie dann also auch weitere Informationen. Ich mache das mal zu. Also das Ganze finden Sie, wenn Sie Jung und von A bis W als 2 Suchbegriffe bei YouTube eingeben. So, ich denke, dass Sie mit diesen Informationen soweit informiert sind, um sich Gedanken darüber zu machen, ob Sie die Bücher, wenn Sie Englisch verstehen, lesen wollen. Ich glaube, dass in der Tat der Rezensent recht hat, dass das, was Les Green und die anderen Autoren mit diesem anderen Buch, C.G. Jung, Astrology Selected and Introduced by Saffron Rossi und Chiron Leguice, dass damit 3 Bücher zur Verfügung stehen, die in Kombination mit dem roten Buch und dem Textbuch zum roten Buch eine substanzielle Informationsquelle darstellen könnten. Persönlich habe ich den Verdacht, dass im roten Buch dokumentiert ist, wie C.G. Jung eine Art kommunikativen Kontakt mit den Archetypen aufgebaut hat, aber das bleibt natürlich rein spekulativ. Für heute herzlichen Dank fürs Zuschauen und auf bald.